Okay, we're set to go. Welcome, everybody, to the May curriculum meeting. It's Tuesday, May 2nd, and to start out tonight, I just want to say that it is Teacher Appreciation Day, and I can't thank you all enough for what you do and for how you support our teachers through the district with your supervisors, curriculum, the different math and LAL and social studies and science and elementary education and special ed and jack of all trades, Mr. Ronaldo over here, and our two heads here of the district. We are very, very fortunate here in Monroe to have amazing and wonderful teachers and staff and people that do some amazing work that I have continued to be impressed by year after year as I sit on the board. So I just again want to thank you all and let you know from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate all that you do, because I know that we ask a lot of you from this seat, so I appreciate what you do for us. So let's get started. First thing on the agenda is Dr. Roselle, Latin 1.
All right, Latin 1, this is a curricular revision that was necessitated by an update to the World Language Standards in 2020. We have a relatively new Latin teacher. This is his second year here, and he has revised this document. What's important to note is that we not only have the language, we also have a lot of the culture. So Roman architecture, different aspects of ancient civilization. So students learn these things in 6th grade, and then students who elect to take Latin, those concepts are spiraled back through. There's also a connection to the English language arts standards, not only literacy, but also grammar and syntax and the things that students study there. So there are a total of 12 units. It spans the entire course, and this is set up in a way to position students to participate as they progress through the Latin courses, to participate in the National Latin Exam, which several of our students did this year, and they performed very well. So we are pleased with the evolution of our Latin program. But again, this is a routine update for standards and to really incorporate some of those cultural aspects.
Okay, great. Does anybody have any questions?
I do, really quick. I have to second you on that. The upgrade of a Latin program has been very evident, and it's been very exciting to follow through because 2 of my children take Latin. Latin 1 is being revised with by Mr. Mearson, I understand. Is a plan in place for 2 and 3 and 4 to be revised?
Yes. So I put a lot on his plate last summer, and we did have all 4 up for revision. He has done a meticulous job at each of these documents, and as to not overwhelm him, we did push Latin 2, 3, and 4. Latin 2 is almost done. He's working on those learning goals for the cross-curricular standards, and then Latin 3 and 4 are also. So we we intend to have those other documents approved. But he is working from new materials and things like that as well. So these concepts are in place.
Excellent. So the Latin, and the reason I asked that question is because we tend to, I think, offer these based on students taking the course, because I
yes,
don't
student
Latin
enrollment
4 exists. Does Latin 4 exist?
Latin 4 does exist. Okay. We typically only have a few students registering for it. Okay. So what we do is we run that course. And then if there are situations where students often will conflict out of it, what that means is that classes that run as a singleton, if a student, for example, may have, Calc BC, or they have another singleton class that's running, they conflict out. So they will say, I'm going to prioritize, this other AP class, or I'm going to prioritize this other elective over Latin. And that will happen sometimes, and the course does not run in that piece.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's very exciting to see what's happening with this language.
It's been amazing. You saw last week at the board meeting,
very
student recognitions for the national Latin exam.
Yes.
Very holistic. Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions? Okay, great, thank you. Next up, you have Spanish 3 through 5.
Yes, this is another routine update. We have had the Spanish 3 through 5 program has been in place. We shifted away from the Rosetta Stone. So Rosetta Stone was in there as a kind of a stopgap to really make sure that we had students, we were meeting our goals of exposure, we were meeting our state requirements, but we really want students to have access to project-based learning and cultural aspects and types of enrichment opportunities. So Spanish 3 to 5 was written again to update to the 2020 standards to make sure that we have aspects of culture embedded. That is key in both the New Jersey Student Learning Standards for World Language and also for the ACTFL standards is the cultural lens. So students in grades 3 to 5 will talk about greetings, they'll talk about their families, they'll talk about the weather, different cultural holidays, what it means to have culture, what foods do we celebrate, what foods are celebrated in Latin America, traditions and things like that. The lens is that by studying another language and culture, we learn more about our own. So that is the update for 3 to 5. There are digital resources that are used. Rockalingua is used, but it is not the means by which students are getting content. So this is a traditional model now where students are getting their content through the world language teachers.
Anyone have any questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
So for grades 3 to 5, they're only learning this digitally? There's no actual teacher?
Nope, the opposite. So we have two elementary Spanish teachers who rotate through the buildings. They're also servicing the lower grades right now too,
Okay.
not as frequently as 3 to 5. And we do still have an opening for our third teacher. And they are getting those directly from the teacher. The digital pieces are supports. There are songs, there are games, there's activities that facilitate the TPR, the total physical response, and other enrichment activities, but it is based through teachers.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
You took my question.
Okay.
My question. All right, anyone else have any questions? All right, great. So now we have Ms. Struss, going to talk to us about 8th grade science.
Good evening, everyone. We undertook a revision of our 8th grade science, which is a focus on the life science standards. As many of the previous documents I've presented, these documents are all aligned to the next generation science standards, which are a set of standards that are throughout the entire country, as well as the 2020 New Jersey Student Learning Standards for Science. Various resources such as Gizmos, which we've discussed in the past, is an online simulation where students can engage in authentic problem solving and lab activities that they wouldn't necessarily be able to do in the classroom. And also OpenSciEd, which, as I have mentioned before, New Jersey is a partner state, and that is a resource library of vetted next generation science standards, lesson ideas, phenomenon story lines that students can follow, as well as problem solving. So it's really a repository of really good lesson ideas for 6 through 8. So we also took the time in this document to update our phenomenon ideas. So for those that don't know what that is, phenomenon is basically a natural event that is explainable by science. When we're teaching science, we really want to make that the focus of what we're opening our unit or our lesson with. The way I like to explain it to everyone is think of it as the thread that students are exploring throughout the entire lesson, with the ultimate goal that in the end, they'll be able to use the standards as well as the other disciplinary core ideas to be able to then explain that phenomenon. So we really are trying to come up with some new ideas for that. Also, because this is 8th grade, we really are embedding claim evidence reasoning skills. This is another really big concept in science. It's based off of students being able to basically make a claim about something, examine different pieces of evidence, either from things that they've discovered on their own or research from other people, and then formulate a reasoning behind why their claim is either substantiated or not. Another way to think about it is thinking about it as your claim is what's causing it, your evidence is the effect, and your reasoning is your mechanism. Why is this happening? So in each unit, we really want students to focus on that skill because it's a really important skill for building up throughout their courses they're going to take in the high school. We have, as always, remote learning strategies throughout the curriculum and some really engaging real-world application experiences. One of my personal favorites is they present students after they do a unit on genetic engineering problems such as, should we clone our pets? So as technology is changing, they kind of get to look at the ethics behind that. And, you know, as much as you might love, you know, your pet George, will he really be George if he comes back? So, you know, really good, interesting questions that they get to kind of explore and even think a little bit on their own, you know, would I want that? How would that occur? Things like that. Carbon footprint activity. Students research their own carbon footprint and see if and how they could possibly change that. And everyone's favorite DNA extraction activity, where they get to actually take out a piece of DNA from a piece from either fruit, or they can use their own cheek cell. The kids really like it. It doesn't, you know, look like the model, but it gets the point across, hey, this is what DNA really looks like. So these are the kind of activities that they've embedded within. Our units include classifying and exploring life, plant and animal cells, reproduction, heredity and genetics, genetic modification, classification, matter and energy, ecosystems, and their functions and resilience, and biological evolution. So the teachers did a really great job aligning everything and trying to make it more engaging.
Anybody have any questions?
I do have one,
Mhm.
as always.
Really? You have a question? I'm shocked.
Sorry, Mr. But my question is very generic. I'm looking at this and just wondering, what has changed?
So really, there's a couple things that have been updated within the 2020 standards. One of the bigger things also is that they're really asking for us to make sure that we're embedding climate change throughout. That's one of the standards for New Jersey. Also really looking at Open SciEd, the first time that these documents were written, those resources weren't available yet. So we really are trying to make sure that we're giving teachers the best possible document and resources to be able to teach science the way that New Jersey is asking them to do so.
So the units are primarily the same,
The units are primarily the same,
but you're incorporating more
more resources,
and phenomenal, really good.
and also the approach to how to teach science in the classroom has evolved a lot. So being able to give teachers that structure and support within the curriculum document really can go a long way to hopefully help be able to students find success with some of the questions they might find on the NJSLS for science, and also things that we of course want to prepare them for as they move towards high school.
Thank you.
Yes, anyone else have any questions? All right. So that's it for curriculum documents, right? And our next item on the agenda is our annual renewals.
Sure. So I can walk you through the documents one by one
Sure.
and you kind of proceed. The first one I have on the pile is the Teen Arts New Jersey. So Teen Arts New Jersey is an opportunity that we engaged with for our 6th through 8th grade students. Previously, several years ago, many years ago, we used to also include the high school. And Mr. Ralda can kind of add some color to it, but as the program evolved at the high school, we have a tremendous art facility. We phased that program out because there was a lot of overlap of what our high school students were getting access to in this program and what we do right here. But we thought it prudent to kind of maintain that opportunity for the students at the middle schools. And this document just demonstrates that we have a cap in terms of what we're willing to partner with this group with. It's consistent every year. Most years we estimate just about how many students, because they apply to this, they audition for this, and they're accepted to this. And we usually hit pretty close to it. We have a 18 student cap, and we're typically right around there. We don't pay for students. If we only have 15 students that audition and qualify, we pay for 15 students. This agreement just kind of puts a ceiling or a cap on it. And they reach out this time of year every year, and we, if we wanted to add or change this, that we would be already prepared to do that through discussions in the budgeting process and things. But our recommendation was to maintain this opportunity for the middle school at this current time and keep the same student opportunities. 18 students is our cap.
Okay, so I have a question. What is the acceptance process? What do they do to audition for this?
You want to fill in?
Sure. So we have a teacher at the middle school who is designated to facilitate this program for us. This individual's been holding that position for some time, and there's established criteria that's offered to us through Middlesex College, but also we are able to put our own Monroe lens on that. A lot of it has to do equally with, not just proficiency in the content, but also some student discipline, because it is a commitment. The district is, there is a financial piece to it, so we want them to make sure they don't necessarily treat it like a club where they come and go as they please. We want them to commit to the program. And there's an academic compliance piece, and there's also there is a portion of time where they'll be pulled out of class on occasion, so they know that they have responsibilities in their absences, and any violations of that agreement could remove in revocation for privileges in the program. We've never had that. But to answer it's a blend of habits of mind and proficiency in the content. And when we talk about teen arts, it's not limited to just art, there's some theater stuff in there. And the origin of the program is for opportunities that aren't existing already in the current school district. And the nature of our elective system at the middle school sometimes makes it difficult for students in STEM or in STEM to pursue art or creative writing or something like that. So that was kind of the rationale for keeping it at the middle school. Where at the high school, we found that our program offerings were equal to, or if not better, than those that were offered by teen arts, And a couple of years ago, we made the decision to suspend their high school's participation because we felt that we had adequate opportunities here and also more financially responsible. But at the middle school, we were not comfortable doing that yet because there was still utility there. But it's not just a club, there is criteria. But it's not just purely how good you are there, because we realize that there's some student disciplines, particularly when you're operating on college campus.
Okay, great. Anybody else have any questions?
Quick one. So we're only applying for the grades 6 to 8.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, we're planning for the opportunity to be available for 6th to 8th grade students.
Okay.
I had another question. So we've done this for how long with middle school? Really long, right?
Forever.
Yeah. So I just want to piggyback, and I have no objections to this. I just want to throw out an idea for the High School Arts Society honor. Because you say that there's so many opportunities here that our high school students don't get. Maybe we could have the middle school eventually, not this year, but in future years, come to high school for this program. It's a 14-year program, just a thought, because I feel like, I know what you're talking about. Our high school art program is amazing, and I feel like those students can mentor the middle school students, and that could be like a workplace.
I think the natural evolution of where we're heading is, again, when we address our facilities needs, right, specifically at the middle school and stuff, opportunities that the students are getting here could flex from this building down to that building. And so that this is an opportunity we still feel is a necessity, but moving forward, we've had discussions of phasing it out even.
We look at it closely every year because there is a financial piece tied to it, but, we do find, and there is, and our students do get, actually, a lot of our language arts students thrive in the programs in the creative poetry side of it, especially at the middle school level, because they don't get those types, and they get published and stuff. So we did find that there was significant value still there for 6 to 8. High school, it was diminishing. But let's I'd like to earmark that discussion about the the facilities, because that would be a nice thing to bring up again when we debrief on Middlesex College.
Right, as
that
we
could
talked about.
potentially partner with them for facility use.
And if I could also add, now that we're gonna be having a true drama program, which we've never had before in the middle school, that's another avenue that perhaps we might be able to meet these needs. I'm not saying by any means by
And a
next
good
year,
portion of our middle schools
correct,
use Teen Arts Middle School for.
for the drama. Yes, it's something that we've been doing, I wanna say 20 years. I've been here 20 years, I think.
It's been a while.
Am I right? So that's another opportunity, you never know. So in the next, sitting here next year, it may not be a conversation of something we might not be, we may decide that we don't need it. Our children can have that opportunity in-house.
That's the right direction to go in. Thank you.
Dr. Lane, next.
Sure, so this is our threat assessment CrowdStrike contract renewal. It might be CDWG, that's the document. So this is something that Mr. Feldman worked hard over the budgeting cycle to address. So this is we started utilizing this company when we went through the ransomware attack several years ago. It was something that we worked with our insurance company, and they said, you know, this is a tool, the type of tool you need to bounce back from what you're going through and help prevent you from ever dealing with this again. So we've been using CrowdStrike since then. Mr. Feldman actually was able to leverage, whether it's the economy, whether it's their end of the business, whether it was just every year we try and negotiate contracts, and some years we have more success than others, and it's on our end or their end, but this year he was able to negotiate a $36,000 savings on this contract and maintain the same level of coverage and same services, no changes, no reductions or anything. So he was, and this, Alan was also very, very happy to kind of move through that process. So the technical details of the ins and outs of what CrowdStrike does, I do not have, but I can tell you this is running, it's an active search and an active defense as opposed to a passive defense. So if something were to happen, they are actively monitoring and looking for it, as opposed to, you know, if you just have a regular antiviral software on your computer, when something happens, it tells you. This group, not only are they monitoring worldwide things that are happening and developing this program to look for it, they're actually actively looking for it. So it's something that's essential, and I would recommend going for it. And it, you know, he did an outstanding job negotiating the contract this year for that. $36,000 savings is
$36,000
it's an outstanding piece.
Yeah, that's really good. So, no, we discussed this a lot after we had those attacks, so
Yep.
I'm kind of familiar with this. Does anybody have any questions about it?
That was gonna be my question. Is this something that we did after
Yeah.
that?
After we had those attacks, yeah.
It's one of the things in our toolkit.
It's kind of like seeing
Comcast.
coming and being able to block it as opposed to being blindsided and sucker punched.
Yeah.
Yeah, but knowing what's out there, they know what the punches look like.
Right.
You even look forward to it. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Next one, Marzano, instructional empowerment. It's also known as the eye observation tool. So this contract's for 8 buildings, up to 102 users. So that covers us. We have approximately 800 users in the district. So that's every certificated teacher, all certificated administrators. And this tool is utilized for our lesson observations, our end-of-year summatives, our everything having to do with evaluations for OT, PT, speech, nurses.
Who's talking?
When I look at the number.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, OT, PT, speech, nurses. There are about 8 professionals that we use a different evaluation tool for because it doesn't fit into this. But other than that, every certificated staff member has an account, utilizes the account. Us administratively, we get observed with that account, and we also conduct observations and provide feedback to the teachers through that account. So this is our annual renewal. It's a competitive price. One of our goals and one of the things we talked about doing is to take a look at our evaluation model. It's something that we will be doing probably within the next year or two, collaborating with the association and kind of taking a look at what that looks like. Again, this will probably be our management software piece to it. And then what it looks like when we go in is what we would be tweaking and changing. So there's 8 buildings for 102 users each. Some buildings are less than that, but in a building like the high school, you have more than 102 users, so those extra accounts go over, and that's how they bill us for it.
Per user?
Yeah, well, it's built by building, 8 buildings with 100 users, 102 users per building.
So the elementary may only use 60, but the middle school may use 300 or 240, and then the high school may use 280. It all evens out.
Yep.
Anybody have any questions?
Who are the end users for this, Dr. Lehman? Is it teachers?
Teachers
And so.
and administrators.
When you say 300 in middle school.
No, I was just, no, so let's say there's 150 teachers in
So
the middle
every
school.
teacher probably has their own account. is
One-
that-
Yes.
okay.
Every
That-
teacher has an
every
account,
teacher-
every nurse, every OT, PT
Oh,
student,
you-
child study
Yes.
member.
Okay.
And the administrators as well. So that's part of their evaluation
Okay,
system,
thank you.
administration as well.
Yep. So our end users are the administrators. As a district, the other end user would be the teacher.
I'm gonna ask the obvious question, what are we evaluating?
So we're evaluating everything from observing lesson, so we're observing instruction.
Okay.
And then there are elements of it, of planning, contribution towards the whole school community, and reflection on lesson design, technology implementation. Those are all elements of what we
They're
look for.
separated by domain. So every teacher is required to have, let's say, 2 observations would be domain 1, and then domain,
3, 4, 5, or
2, 3, 4, 5, and 2 could be lesson planning, could be implementation of technology. I'm just going off the top of my head, I'm trying to remember the
3 is the lesson reflection,
lesson reflection.
and 4 is
4
contributions.
to the
towards-
district or to the school.
Yep.
So maybe a teacher that goes above and beyond and goes to the football games, or a teacher that goes to the plays. And then they provide evidence, which can be uploaded to the system, and it's very clinical in nature. It's definitely, you have a meeting with the teacher for domain 1, and these are the things I'm gonna be looking for. I'm gonna be looking for, wait time, I'm gonna be looking for, differentiation of instruction, I'm gonna be looking for, checking for understanding. And implementation of technology. So it's a model, the major models that are out there, either Marzano, you have Charlotte Danielson, you have Strong,
Those are the 3 major.
and then we.
So, just so I
Sure.
have this in my head, I'm a teacher, you're gonna observe me, you're gonna meet with me, you're gonna tell me, this is what I'm looking for you to do. Okay, and then I have some other stuff that I wanna show you that I've done, because obviously you can't be everywhere.
Correct,
So then I'm gonna go into this with my user, and I'm gonna put in,
correct,
I've done this, I've done that, and here's my evidence that I did.
correct. That's
Okay.
exactly what it is. Just very nice summary.
It's interactive, feedback goes both ways.
Yep.
Communication goes both ways.
And you use this all through the school year,
Yes.
so you can, so I'm just gonna pick on you, Ms. Gasco. So you would give her, say something, and then she could say back to you, like, I did do this, blah, blah.
She
You
would
have a
upload
conversation
her
all year
evidence.
long,
Yep.
yeah, she would have to upload,
Yep.
her math worksheets, everything.
Yep. Some
Her timed math test,
some observations represent a 20 to 40-minute window.
okay,
Those would be the lesson observations, and then some of them represent a portfolio of evidence
Correct.
over the course of a period of time. Could be the whole school year, like if you want to communicate your contributions to the district and or the school,
Mhm.
you may say, these are some of the things I did as a, presenting in a staff meeting and things like that.
Mentor the teacher,
Mentoring teachers,
mentor a
yep.
teacher, you work with first year teachers.
went and watched the unified teams play at Special Olympics or
Yeah,
something like
being a
that.
pre- that would be.
I gotta go what it relates to me, because
Yeah.
absolutely, we
Being a
have,
president of school functions.
yeah, we do have a lot of, amazing teachers who
Yeah, come out.
just come out. Like the unified, track team is gonna be at the Special Olympics in Homedale on Saturday, quick plug. And so, I know that there's some teachers who are gonna stop in on Saturday to watch the team do their thing, so.
Yep, that's
And they
exactly.
take pictures and upload pictures that they were there.
They actually-
Their
Oh,
evidence.
yeah,
Yeah,
okay, all right, I guess you.
So is
probably
this
use
what
this, right?
Your district, I was just curious. Yeah, Nelson.
Effective educators.
That's us, that's Marzano,
Oh, okay.
the effective educators and learning sciences.
Since you triggered it.
I triggered it off. It's my fault, it's a question, sorry. Eric.
So is this like a really robust appraisal tool as well? Like it's the supervisor is also feeding into it, or is it just one way? Like I would, in my login, put in everything I've done and the supervisor just has a view on it, or
So
how are?
the year-long portfolio stuff tends to be, mostly end user uploaded information, right? This is what I did at the faculty meeting. These are the things I attended as to be a part of the school community, parent events, stuff like that. The lesson observation piece is the flip side.
Okay.
So the pre-conference establishes what the lesson's about, what are the things that we're potentially looking for, and things that happen in the class can also be commented on. The observer would make highlights and make comments on those specific things that we're looking for, and those specific elements, they're called, are all identified with look-fors and rubrics, scales. And then you come back again and have a post-conference and discuss what was seen.
That is a rating.
And then it's rated at the end. So we call it the back of the map, which is domains 2, 3, and 4. They are primarily end-user generated. On the front of the map are observer generated.
Okay, and we call it Marzano, is that what? we
Yes,
call
it's
it?
my, well, she also said effective educators, learning sciences, so it's like when you watch a movie and it says production company, produced by, like, there's all these different names, it's the same thing. So Marzano is this gentleman who was smart enough to create this, and a very, very successful business for himself. Robert Marzano, so, and it's effective educators, and it's also learning sciences, but, because you could actually put effectiveeducators.com and it will come up. And what happened was, I want to say about, gosh, was it 10 years ago?
Or the,
Was it more than 10 years
Yep.
ago? So when the state came out and said you had to jump on board, we were actually the pilot school. We were pilot school districts. We did it to implement this. It has its value and, you know,
it's
It's
a
clinician.
very good coaching tool. It was designed to be a coaching.
It's very time consuming to upload the evidence. I'm sure that takes time away from the teachers.
has its pluses.
Yeah.
It has its shortcomings, like any tool that we use,
Like anything.
like anything you use.
How are you gonna justify what you've done if you haven't documented it?
Yep.
In nursing, if it wasn't documented, it wasn't done.
So get out there when the tree falls and treat it like.
I guess. Next, sorry.
Atlas.
Atlas, which one? I don't know.
No, there's one Atlas.
Um,
So Atlas is our curriculum management tool. Atlas is when you go to the district website, we'll put it this way, the staff have logins, so we get access to it through a different lens. When the curriculum writers are writing, they have editable access to certain elements of the documents. When the public accesses Rubicon Atlas, they have access to it through the curriculum drop-down menu on our website. And when they do curriculum, that filter comes up, and that is able to, you can search by grade level, by content area, by subject. And this is our curriculum management tool. So this is provides us a live kind of editable document. There are templates that we use. If you've ever, we just looked at it. So all of us have looked at documents. There are sections in which we populate with different state standards and then learning goals. And so this is the framework we use for curriculum writing. It is something that is coming down the pike that in terms of curriculum transparency, that all documents need to be accessible and searchable, and we were already there. There are some districts that upload a PDF file. They're difficult to find, difficult to search, difficult to look for. They will have to pivot to most likely a program like this to meet the requirements that are coming down the road in terms of curriculum transparency. And there are many other features.
It's extremely helpful during CUSAC as well.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
I see that in the two Atlas documents that you sent us for, I think you sent us 3, actually, there's 3 in here. That there's actually live links in here that I could go out and I could see some of the materials, which I think is good.
It's great for teachers, because it's typically 1 or 2 teachers who are writing curriculum documents during the summer. So when those are pushed out to all teachers of a course, we can link to Google Drive, we can link to websites, we can upload documents. So there's a lot of consistency across classrooms and across buildings. And when we've gone through CUSAC and the county comes in and says, these are the things we need to see in a document, they're like, you guys are right on point. Because we can demonstrate all of those benchmarks that we're supposed to have, the cross-curricular standards, the differentiation, the support for English language learners, students with IEPs and things like that.
Yep.
So I just clicked on one of the links just to ask this question so it's asking me to sign into Google. So these are only available to people
Yes, so the links.
What's gonna be available to the public in the interest of transparency?
So
Yep.
we do stages 1 and 2 are available for public view. We keep stage 3 private. Stage 3 is where individual lesson plans, assessments, those in the classroom, secure items would be. Stage 1 is going to be all of the standards. Stage 2 is going to be our essential questions, the skills, the content, things like that. You can also see the scope and sequence, the units for the courses in the public view. but to maintain our security and any proprietary information.
Like common
Phase
assessment,
3 is,
Things like that.
yeah.
Oh, I get the common assessments,
Yep.
I get that, I'm just, was looking at some of the stuff that I thought would be interesting, but okay.
I had a quick question too. The contract says it puts our student count there. Why would it need a student count? It should be like, because you're using this for,
Right, but I was gonna ask the same question. It should be by user.
by the user, or subjects, or the
Right.
course materials that you're writing.
It's by the size of the district. So it's licensed by the size of the district, the way the company, because the larger your district, the more curriculum documents you're going to have. When you have a very large high school, you have more curriculum documents than you would have if you had 1,000 students in a high school or 500 students in a high school. So that's just the way the product is licensed.
And it's okay for that number to be a little off.
Absolutely, yes, because it's not licensed by student. It's by the size of the district. So they'll have, between 5,000 and 7,500 or 8,000 to 12,000.
Any other questions? Next up,
Huddle.
Just yesterday we were discussing that, huh?
Mhm.
Am I, feels like it was yesterday.
So Huddle is our, we start with football utilizes it to exchange game film within whatever team they're playing. It's a requirement based on our conference as well as when we get into the state competitions. We also have access to all of our sports in terms of live streaming. So anything we can get an internet to a camera, we can live stream. So the majority of things we live stream are, in the gymnasium right now. One of our goals is to get internet out to the field house and we can live stream anything on the turf fields, which would be outstanding. It's not a cheap task to do that. So that is something that we continually budget for, but it does not meet that threshold yet, hasn't met that threshold yet. Other things that they utilize this for, the coach utilizes, and we talked about this last summer. We can record video, we can't live stream, but we can record video, and they can use it for offensive and defensive plays. It has a software built into it that you can zoom in and highlight and follow players as they're playing around and analyze. Some coaches use it more than others. Some sports are it's more friendly to do, like baseball. This is not necessarily the who's doing what on the field. It's not necessarily the right program to do that with, but we could certainly live stream a game if we got the internet out there. It's really good for soccer, really good for basketball, things like that. It's the same price as we paid last year. This is the second year. When they gave us the quote last year, it was a 2-year quote, not a 2-year contract, just they gave us the same price for 2 years. So this would be a 23, 24, second year of the quote they gave us.
There's a mistake in this. Or maybe I'm reading it wrong. There's volleyball occurs 4 times. So there's 1 volleyball men's, 1 volleyball women's, and then there's 2 volleyball women's Huddle silver. So, and they're all 3 are Huddle silver. So I don't know.
Yep, and again, this is all, it doesn't impact our price. We
Okay.
just wanted to make sure it was listed, because this subscription, they're not charging by sport. Within our package, it's essential package. We just wanted to make sure everything was listed.
Okay, as long as
Yeah,
it does not
impact the,
Okay.
because we added, so last year field hockey was left off, just the list. We added the list, doesn't
Okay.
change the price.
Okay.
Um,
And I do want to make a note, being a sport parent, and my kids play team sports, they use it extensively. The coaches make them study the game, study the offenses, study their own game, and, so besides playing and training, they're also watching a ton of video. I'm like, I'm not always happy about it, but I see where they're getting the videos from.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay.
I have a couple of them.
Oh, you have a question? Okay, go ahead.
So this is the second year of this contract?
Well, they gave us a quote for 2 years.
Okay,
Yeah.
it says estimate start date 8/15/2022, and then end date 2024.
Right,
So
right.
this is the second year of that.
This is the second year of their quote for us.
Okay.
Yep.
And then, I know I brought it up a couple of times. When I looked on the website and saw the services and looked at the documents that you provided us last year, it also said that one of the things that it could be used for is to help student athletes have their own film that they could use for college recruitment.
Yep.
I don't know if if that information is being
Shared with.
brought down to the coaches and to the athletes, because I know I brought it up at a couple sports and nobody knew what I was talking about. But I think if that is something that they offer and is accessible to our student athletes, it's definitely something that we should really train, the coaches in and the athletic director, that this is something that, while it's great for the films, because we're required for football to have this, to share the films, there's so much more that we could be doing with it for the athletes to send films to prospective colleges too.
Yeah, and that's a great point. And I think what those videos turn into, I think, is some of the game film that they analyze. They can clip that and make a montage to then share with the colleges and things. So absolutely, and that goes to the point of some of the programs are using it more than others. Some of the coaches are using it more than others.
I would
Yep.
want to piggyback on what Mrs. Kirby was said. So what the kids are doing their own clip-offs of it. I believe there's a technology that you could pick a player and do it.
Yeah.
So, and I know parents who sit on the sidelines with their own cameras making these montages. So if we are paying for it as a.
And that's what I've said to them, have you talked to the coach, because I know in huddle you can do that.
Yes, it would help,
Mhm.
and we're already paying for it. So if our students athletes can take advantage of it,
So what-
especially the ones that are looking to play D1 and D3 and.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask, as the chair of this committee, can we put a communication plan together to parents so that they know this is available?
Sure,
It
absolutely.
should come directly from the,
Athletic director.
Right, absolutely, I'm just saying, I'm just
And
giving
to
you
the
the,
coaches. so
I'm giving you the idea.
No, I think it's great.
What, how you guys do it,
The coaches
that's
don't
your.
know that it's available or that they're doing
this is
it.
our second year of using it. Actually, we've used it before. So Huddle's something we've used before. Is this something that we've always had an opportunity if we share it with coaches?
So some of the coaches, like I said, have used it for game film. They've
Right.
also used it for like play analysis. They are adding features to kind of keep up with their competitors. I don't know when the highlight film section came out. It was definitely something we talked about last year. I had not heard about it previous to that. So it's a very fair point that some of the coaches, they know about these game film features. They know about the offense, defensive play reviews and stuff, but maybe they haven't connected the dots with.
Yeah, we can make sure that
highlights
happens.
or something.
And it happens to happen immediately because we know that football starts soon. Not soon, but,
Yeah, no, it starts,
Never.
before you blink your eye. Before you blink your eye. What do we got left?
We got Learning Ally.
Learning Ally.
Yep, so this is another one of the subscriptions that we started out many years ago, paying individual student licenses. And they're pretty costly. This is a program that's embedded in many students' IEPs. The program itself allows students access to audiobooks, and not just a limited selection. This is the broadest selection and access to audiobooks that we could find. And that's important in terms of access to, equal access to text and audiobooks. So we hit a threshold 4 or 5 years ago where we had more individual licenses, and it made sense for us to pick up what you see in the quote, which are school by school or district license. So this is a district license for $12,234.40. Currently, we have 318 students reading. They've read 90,328 pages. 103 at the high school, 123 at the middle school, and 92 students spread throughout the elementary schools. Every year, the usage grows as we weave it into IEPs, but also students that have specific, not every student can have access to it. This is restricted to students that have a certain disability, whether it's formal or not, in terms of getting access to print text. If they meet that threshold, and we have grown our usage since 2019 and 2020. So, one thing we look to do is we always try and make sure the technology is accessible so students can have access to these books. And that's one thing we've made a big point for. But this quote is consistent with what we've done in previous years. We got a 20% discount. This is a district-wide license. And again, we hit that threshold of, it made sense for us to pick up this as opposed to pay for individual licenses. So I would recommend that the committee consider moving forward with that for this year.
Anyone have any questions about Learning Ally?
All right, Edmentum, that's the next one. that is also known as Study Island. Edmentum is the parent company. So what we've done just financially from last year to this year is through our analysis, we noticed that coming out of COVID, we've had a reduction in access in some areas, not access, but utilization in some areas. So we were able to reduce the cost of this quote by $18,000 from last year. And that just has to do with, again, we have other resources that teachers have migrated to. And it's part of our kind of ebb and flow as we analyze these documents. Just to give you a heads up, as of now, we've had 318,272 questions answered so far this year. And even with that participation, we found areas within this that it's being underutilized, and that's how we were able to do the savings over the years. And this is, so Study Island, if you're not familiar, has a math, language arts aspect to it. It connects to our NWA map assessment. So when you get a score on map, it'll link right to Study Island. So based on your areas that you're ready to grow in map, it'll give you a learning path in Study Island to practice and kind of move forward in. It integrates with Clever. That's important at the elementary level. It's one-click access. So it's really a very helpful piece. I would recommend moving forward with it. Again, we ebb and flow in our usage, and I think it reflects in the way we kind of plan and adopt these quotes and things.
Anybody have any questions about Study Island?
I do.
Mrs. Bohr?
My observation has been that not every child uses it in every classroom. So my question is, are teachers using this as a tool? Or is this one of those optional resources, which is how I've seen it in elementary? I'm not sure how it is in middle school. So given that you've noticed, and I commend that you guys already noticed that it was reduced usage and you've, modified the contract, but do we need it still is my question. How many, because there are some students, it's a class of 25 students, you'll find 3 that are really using it for that extra work, but at that point, is it something that we need to provide as a resource?
No, I think it certainly is utilized. It's not, we don't assign Study Island for homework in place of the curricular work we have. It's definitely a supplemental piece. It's also utilized sometimes as a station that we do, like, say you're doing a workshop model. Teachers working with students here, maybe they're working independently, and this is a, work on these math problems in a station. So I would say at this point, it's a supplemental resource, but its value comes in its similarity to online test taking, online, that itself is a skill, familiarizing the students on how to engage with, and not necessarily prep for the NJSLA, but just prep for engaging with the online interactive features, because they're embedded in their, whether it's their math, online, the math Envisions program. So I think at this point, it definitely has its value. Again, 318,000, that's more than just a couple students. We dig into the classrooms.
Was it 380,000 questions answered, right?
Questions answered.
So, and that's right, that's why I put that little analogy that sometimes in a class of 25, only 3 will be using it every day.
Yep.
And that adds up the questions. And I'm only questioning this if it's a nice to have or it's a must have. That's in Mrs. Shanley's words, is it a need, must have? It's $51,000 for that contract, yearly contract. And if it has been mandated in classrooms, absolutely. Like if all the children in the classroom are using it equally, it's justified. But if it's only a resource for 2 students and not for 23 others, then we need to start questioning it.
I also wanted to piggyback off what Dr. Lehman was saying. We are required to implement multi-tiered systems of support. We refer to this as RTI or INRS. And frequently, this will be one of those support tools for students who have been identified for Tier 2 or Tier 3 services. So that's where we may only see a couple students in a classroom using, but one of our interventionists, when we look at her usage data, all of her students are using that. Because it integrates with MAP, and we use MAP as our universal screener, which means all our students are assessed in MAP, and that helps us identify the students who may need extra support. The fact that it links directly to Study Island and we can target the skills that students need, it is a valuable tool for that as well.
It is utilized at the middle school, just so you're aware.
Yes,
I appreciate that.
For math,
explanation.
it is the one, resource that is probably the best out of the ones that I've seen in terms of practice, because it integrates application type scenarios. In addition to the technology of the drag and drop. So what happens a lot of times, there are a lot of teachers, right? It's not mandated that every teacher has to use it across the, but many give it as homework assignments, but not a homework assignment where you have to get an X, like if you get a 90, you get a 90, because that's not the intention. The intention is to practice, and it should be kind of a safe zone. But there are homework assignments would be that I want you to do these practice, and you'll get a homework credit or whatever. But it, as Dr. Lehman said, it's in addition to the regular homework. For math from the elementary, it's used more from January on till around now, because a lot of it is spiraling review. It's getting them back to like some of the things that they've learned in the past to help them get ready for the NJSLA, but not for being the only reason. It's also just to practice retention. So while NJSLA is an online test as well, but it's the idea of spiraling and reviewing and going through. You will get some of those parents that want their children to do it more and more, but a lot of times the teachers might, they might assign it a couple times a month or a couple, once a week or something like that, but more as a practice scenario. You have from now till, let's say, next Tuesday or whatever to practice it for X number of minutes or do X number of products. But the increase of the usage will be this time of the year, January till now, as opposed to September, October, because there's a lot going on and they just don't have as much knowledge at that point.
Thank you for the explanation.
So next quote is Cami. Notable Inc., and it could be the company it's under. So Cami is basically an app that lets you kind of edit and write over and annotate pretty much anything, predominantly PDFs. We have, basically it's a district-wide license. Our usage is off the charts. I can give you everything from teacher and it's also students. Students use this as well. They break it down. So documents loaded, we've had over 13,275 documents loaded. We've had nearly 50,000 teacher annotations, 15,000 student annotations. They log time on the app. So students' time on apps, 140,551 minutes. They're using this app heavily. Teacher time on apps, 51,000 minutes, 51,267 minutes. Pages saved, number of pages saved from a tree, 8,333. So this is in lieu of printing documents, right? Students can edit something and send it back to their teacher instead of printing it, handwriting it, scanning it, and sending it back to their teacher. Heavy usage district-wide in all subject areas. I mean, the top three users, a high school teacher, a Mill Lake teacher, a Woodland teacher, and the fifth one is a middle school teacher. So you have every building's really engaging in this. It links with Schoology, it links with Canvas, and we can get feedback on documents created through Google Classroom and how they merge in. Hundreds of users, actually thousands of users. We have the district license. We're 7,000 is a good quote. We're well into the 6,000s in terms of users. So this is a heavily utilized. We came on board with this in COVID, and we have not taken our foot off the accelerator. Coming out of COVID with this tool.
Anybody have any questions? Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So we have a couple more. Ed Puzzle is the next one. So there's a middle school and a high school quote. Again, this is another one, just like Learning Ally, for different reasons. Individual student license hit a threshold where it made it, individual teacher licenses hit a threshold where it made sense for us to pick up a school-wide license. Again, we didn't pick up a district license because this is not something that we're utilizing at the elementary level. This is a middle and high school piece. Ed Puzzle is basically something that allows you to make a digital lesson. And lesson meaning 3 to 5 minute kind of voiceover narrative. Could be animated, could have photos in it. It's a supplemental tool that the teachers use. We have, again, it's several hundred users. Our heaviest user has created 193 videos, 98, 70, 57, that's at the middle school. The high school, we have someone that created 158 videos, 83, 36. So we have heavy usage on this. Again, this is not to replace, teachers not putting this on and sitting behind their desk to do instruction. This is a supplemental piece, again, for whether it's a small group lesson, whether it's, here, if you get confused at home, take a look at this, then email me your questions, that kind of thing. But again, it's,
So these lessons that are created, are they shared with other teachers?
yeah, and oftentimes they are,
Across the
yes.
district? Okay.
Yep, that, because it would be redundancy to, if you're doing a common lesson, teachers like to share things.
So this would be something that if I were to create one of these, I would use it in my classroom
You
instructional
could
time?
share, yep.
And would this be something I would ever assign to a student through Schoology or anything like that?
Well, the whole purpose of this is a student to have what, I would almost compare it to Khan Academy videos, like a short
Okay.
snippet, or at the elementary level, although they don't use it there, are envision kind of starter lesson videos, 2 to 3 minutes long, to introduce something.
Okay.
We call it a catchy beginning, an anticipatory set in the lesson.
We had a lot of teachers that really started using that type of a mindset during COVID.
Yeah.
And then they've continued with it because a lot of them have them and have them saved. So they post it, if it's at the high school, they post it on the Schoology or their the Google Classroom at the middle school. And if a student's absent or if they've been sick for a while, I mean, last year we still had students that might have been out for a week for COVID.
Mhm.
Students still get sick, so it's, didn't go away in terms of that.
Right.
So if they have these lessons, they're still teaching it in their class, but they may post it as an extra resource for them to go back and look at or use as a review or, they do it all different things. Not every teacher, but there's teachers that are really, really involved with it.
And this is something something like this, we keep a very close eye on. If we go under the threshold, we'll go back to individual teacher licenses. And if the usage fades away, we will fade this away as well. So this is one of those, we don't expect this to last year to year. We look at it, and if it's losing steam, then we will transition away from it.
Anybody else with a question?
I did. It was primarily a video recording tool
This is video recording.
only.
Yep.
The name is a little misleading.
Yeah.
But they record it on the tool and then they upload it on Schoology.
Yep.
Is there any,
If it's high school, be Schoology, right? If it's middle school, be Google Classroom. The idea is to upload it to somewhere where the students have electronic.
so it's like an MP4 format of the video?
Yep.
Mostly?
Yep.
Okay. So my question is, how did we come across this tool? Why don't we use any other video tool? Just how, is it a
Yeah.
very popular tool in education?
It's something, like I said, when COVID happened, companies came out with ways to maximize teachers' ability and simplify teachers' ability to get lessons and things out in a different way. So everybody was kind of putting their own spin on things. And this came across our desk. Anything that we utilize like this, we vet for, student privacy rules and things, and not everything can meet that threshold. This is a tool that did. It's something that we decided to, once teachers started to use it, we decided, kind of support it. And then again, as this fades, it will dissipate, or it won't. It may catch on, but not every teacher, this isn't every teacher's cup of tea, which is again why we wouldn't probably anticipate a district license either. This is, certain teachers, this is the way they naturally teach.
And students learn different ways, teachers
Yep.
teach different ways.
That's correct.
And user-friendly had a big, during COVID, they were trying different things. User-friendly was a big impact. And for the high school, whether or not they could do it with the iPad. So there was, they kind of came up with their own thing of, hey, try this, and this seemed to be by far the most popular.
Thank you.
All right.
Anybody else have any questions? What do you got left?
Last one, NWA MAP. It's our annual renewal for MAP. So this is a consistent price from last year. Again, we always negotiate a discount. So again, it's about a 10% discount. It's consistent with what we had last year. This is really the heartbeat of our progress monitoring. It's a universal screener for us. We're required to have universal screeners for many different things, everything from the RTI side of things to whether it's the gifted and talented programs. This is something that we do 2 times a year for everyone, and most people take it most students will end up taking it in the winter as well. It's required for students that are in an intervention program and or in some sort of remediation service, so we can progress monitor along the way. It provides the teachers a tremendous amount of detail, because the goal of this is it's not a benchmark. So this isn't taking a test on things that we thought you're expected to know, like what they're taking right now. This test is an adaptive assessment. As you get questions right, it asks you questions that, I want to say get harder, but are more advanced in the standards. If you get questions wrong, it adjusts them. So you find, it's called the zone of proximal development, where you get approximately 50% of the questions right and approximately 50% of the questions wrong. And it's very interesting to see how the students land. If they have a real strength in math, they need maybe multiple standard deviations above what the national norm is for a fifth grade student, whereas they may be right on standard for an ELA student. So we use this, we track this. This is something that we've done since the mid 2015, 16. They've changed their assessment a few times. The majority of students, every student that's been with us since we did this has some longitudinal data about their growth. And we can do annual growth goals for students. We can look at year-over-year growth for students. This tool isn't designed to say your fifth grade did this year compared to your fifth grade next year, because you have a different student body. Again, this is more of a how are students relative to themselves growing, right? Because everyone's going to have a different growth curve because you're starting from somewhere different. And that's the purpose of this, because you're not being compared against where the fifth grade student in New Jersey should be. That's NJSLA. You're being compared against where you are in fifth grade. And we can look and say, where are Monroe students relative to national students in fifth grade, nationally students in sixth grade? And as we would expect, Monroe students tend to be a smidge higher than the national average, just because they have a pool of 11 million students that they create national norms out of. But this is really the heartbeat of what we do, instructional planning. It's never a sole identifying piece for any program, but it is a set of data that is a multiple indicator. So we'll use NGSLA, we use this, teacher recommendations, writing samples, but this is a key hub in that. So, and we have participation throughout the district. So every student, even kindergarten students, are screened using this tool.
Mapical and things.
Yep. So,
Any questions?
It's free. It's for all students, gen ed, special ed, everybody uses
Yes.
that.
yes, so there are always going to be a group of potentially self-contained students that this would not be appropriate for. And those students would have a different even state assessment that they take.
Some
But
students don't
but
take any
all-
assessments based on their IEP.
correct,
The reason I asked was that I'm looking at the quantity in the contract, and that's almost all of our
correct,
students.
correct.
So we
And
have to,
L's, kindergarten screening, everybody. This is everyone.
so it does not take out any self-contained students in the district, in the contract.
No, you might have some self-contained students that can take the assessment very well, some that do
It's all
not.
driven by their IEP.
IEPs.
IEP.
Yep.
For math, it's appropriate up through algebra 2, so if you're beyond algebra 2, then you wouldn't take it. But up through that point that you do. And so when you get to the algebra 1, geometry, algebra 2 level, you can take the one that's appropriate.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Just a comment. I know we talked about it, and maybe this committee can, have a presentation at some point of the scores,
Yes.
AP, MAP score, and how.
NJSLA should have all of them,
Yep.
from in-house to district-wide.
Understand. What are our strengths and what are our?
We would love it.
Pre and
It's awesome.
post-COVID.
Yep.
I would love to see.
Because
I'd
there's
love
been a
to
lot of
see it.
learning loss.
Yeah, I just saw a very interesting documentary on learning loss, so I'd be interested to see where we are.
Yeah.
But thank you. Is that everything?
So all I have for renewals, there will be some more next week. Next
Next week, please.
We have a couple contracts that are with the attorney being reviewed,
Sure.
because those are real, like,
Yeah,
these are annual renewals, right?
right.
The other ones, we have some being reviewed. They may go to fine, depending on how they funnel, they may go to
We're
fine.
giving Zach 10 minutes. so
And that's fine. Zach can,
Yeah, these are
he
just
often
follow-up.
speaks too much.
Oh, he often speaks too
I
much.
did, I've been told that. So summer programming update, we're excited to, we'll be going public with our enrichment offerings within the next week. We have a brand new website, which we just took the old referendum website and just renovated it. We just kept the, they did such a nice job designing it. We didn't want to let it go to waste, so we just kind of took it over, and that's going to be our summer website. It's not available yet, but it will be, it's just not live yet. So it's summer.monroe.k12.nj.us. We will send it all out when it's ready. It's going to be information where the public can find everything from our enrichment services, remediation services, our summer school, and we're saving a special spot for ESY for just easily one-stop shopping for communications, everything from the daily calendar to frequently asked questions and contacts and staffing directories and things like that. We're excited to continue the build out of our enrichment program. We will be rebooting our literacy and STEM programming in addition to our music programs, which include theater and band and chorus. But we'll also be launching 3 new programs. And these programs were designed in just based on student response and need and what we've seen. One of them is going to be culinary, and that will be available to elementary age students and middle school students. In fact, many of our students are not able to get into those electives at the middle school and at the high school, but there's also nothing existing for them at the elementary level. So we're looking forward to using our facility here at the high school to take advantage of that. We'll also be doing some fine arts for the first time over the summer in a very long time. Again, available to students. And what we're really excited about is due to some of the structural concerns that we've had, you know, when art goes on a cart, that inhibits our ability to do certain types of projects, particularly with kilns and 3D art. So we're excited to be able to offer students of all ages some opportunities in the fine arts this summer. And then we do have a very top secret program that we're developing right now in the STEM world that we're not going to release yet, but we will release it shortly. And we think our public is going to be very excited about it. And you can look forward to hearing all about this in the next couple of weeks, and we will launch it on the web and then through our direct connect mechanisms. The one thing I do want to just make very clear that there will be fees associated with the program this year that will be different than last year. And that is because now the district has decided to go forward with our programming, despite the fact that which was formerly grant funded, the grant is no longer there. So we're excited. We are committed to only hiring our district staff, members of our MTEA. We think that that has been the lifeblood of the success of this program, the fact that we offer our students certified staff, friendly faces, and that also ensures that our programs stay aligned. And we're going to be expanding that roster this summer, so we're excited about that. We'll be making recommendations at the May board meeting. As far as remediation is concerned, we just finished up the 3rd marking period. Grades had been posted a couple weeks ago. So over the next week or so, as testing winds down throughout the AP regimen and some other items wrap up, we'll be taking a look at which courses we'll be offering for summer remediation. Those are for our students that fail within a range of 50 to 64, so they can make up and complete the course and obtain the credit. That'll be data driven based on needs, but you know, it's usually the same core courses that we offer, and we're in the beginning stages of getting assembled and that staff ready to go. A couple of things that'll be different this year as well is we're going to hopefully do a little bit more online information available to parents to reduce the amount of direct inquiries that will have to be made, and also to help our staff communicate better with the public. But we'll be using all of our district resources, Schoology, Genesis, to help, and that helps a lot with the student management and also for the parents as they live throughout the summer program. We'll also be continuing to expand our presence in the ESY program. We've adjusted our calendar for the summer enrichment to make sure that there's inevitably going to be conflicts just based on the nature of and the breadth of the ESY program, but we deliberately delayed the beginning of the enrichment calendar. So not only will our students enrolled in ESY be able to enroll in our enrichment camps when the ESY program concludes, but that gives us some flex on the front end where we'll continue, which began last year, which is some push-in lessons in the fine practical and performing arts. So we'll look forward to doing that with ESY as well. And again, it just strengthens the community and it keeps the year-round learning. But you know, again, enrichment is supposed to be designed for just that. This is not for kids to get a competitive edge. This is not for kids to, you know, beef up their resume or do anything like that. This is for enrichment learning aligned with classroom experiences and to get the kids fresh, rejuvenated and they can get serious again in September. And that will be all available to all members of our district. So we're excited about that. And then that'll be, we'll have to see how it goes, but we're really excited about it, and it's a nice opportunity. And it's been going well the last 2 years, and the staff has been fantastic, so we'll keep going with that.
We're excited. I'm excited to hear
Very
about it.
excited.
Anybody have any questions for Mr. Monroe? Go ahead.
Is there an application process for this or a limit as to how many children can take each program?
So, that's a very good question. So in the past, there was. So the last 2 years, the program is free, and we wanted to try to make sure that all students had access. So last year, if you enrolled in a particular week, we would then let you know that, hey, this is your one chance, because we don't want them to block someone else out. This year, because it is fee-based, I guess that all depends on enrollment. Obviously, we want as many kids to get in. If we sell out, we could always add sessions. And that's some of the things I've spoken about with our prospective staff members. It is a scalable program, even within the already existing calendar. If we're having that conversation, I'll be really thrilled. But we have more flexibility now, and students will be able to enroll in multiple programs because of the way we stagger. We have we say AM, PM, but they're really both in the morning. The building's clear by usually 1:30, so you could potentially do STEM in the morning, band when they're done, or some sort of combination of the a la carte menu we'll be offering.
I have one question.
There's a-
Mr. So I know you said enrichment, but were we able to address the high school maths need where our students are going to South Brunswick and Petty and paying a lot of money? Are we able to do that this year or not?
So we have not planned to offer advancement services. That would take a construct, and feel free to correct me. That would take, because I know you have experience with this, 120-hour courses. Right now, our model is not equipped for that. It's something that we've talked about, but there would be a significant ripple effect impacting curriculum and programming at the high school once we get into that realm, particularly with course offerings. It would be something that would align with some of the things Dr. Higgins has spoken about last month.
Yes.
Last week.
But for us,
That we definitely talked about in a positive way, and it's something that we would love to be able to offer. But it is double the number of hours. So we went from this program, and one of the things we talked about is building it and building it well and in increments and getting bigger and bigger and bigger so that it's in that thought process. I mean, we have talked very, very, a lot about the thought that would be a great addition to be able to have at some point.
that would be the next phase in the evolution.
I would love it. I would absolutely love it
Right.
because it would be our teachers and our curriculum.
And the money that's going to others,
I
private schools
totally
and
agree.
districts that would come back to Monroe. It's a great source of revenue. And I agree, there's additional hours, but it's also a great source of income for our teachers. And we know that there is a demand for it. So the sooner we can address it, that'll be great. So I hope you guys keep it in your horizon.
And that would be a nice segue, unless there are more questions, to the Middlesex discussion.
No, I don't think so. Go ahead.
Oh, we have, what?
Go ahead. You're good?
I'm good.
You sure?
Sorry.
Okay.
I'll thank you for another time.
Okay.
So the path to increased opportunities, within the high school is something that we've been talking a lot about the last couple of months. Mrs. Chamley and I had an opportunity to sit with Dr. McCormick, the president of Middlesex College, and his staff, and in particular his academic affairs and his director of high school relationships, to kind of talk about that vision, which would lead us down the path of being able to develop the 120-hour courses, some of the other maybe more obscure courses that kids can access, atypical learning hours, taking advantage of the work-based learning program. And Mrs. Chamley, I don't know if you want to add anything about that experience. We thought it was a very positive meeting.
I think it was an excellent meeting. We talked a lot about dual enrollment. We talked a lot about how they are starting to now mirror exactly what goes on at ESCNJ with our, I guess it's Pathways to Adult Learning. They talked about their own implementation, which is brand new to them as well. And we were very excited. And we talked about, the concept of dual enrollment, not only for our advanced children, but for our avid children as well. And also for our special needs population and what we can do. It was an incredible opportunity, and he then went, and it was funny because we didn't know, we went and had our meeting, and then that very Friday, I had my meeting as part of being on the ESCNJ board, and it was the same exact presentation. So it made me feel good that we're in the right direction, because it's not just about the needs that we have at Monroe. It looks like all of the districts have the same needs. So we're gonna have a lot more information to bring back, and I definitely agree that we need to start looking at taking ownership instead of going to South Brunswick or Petty or so forth, and bringing it to our own home, because number one, we could do it better because they're our own, they're our kids, they're our staff, and why not make the money?
And the big takeaway was that historically Middlesex College, and not just Middlesex, a lot of the post-secondary institutions, in order for us to be able to award our students dual credit, the simultaneous 5 credits here, 3 credits here, like we have in the business course. Our staffing criteria has to meet the criteria of like their department. So a lot of times our staff with advanced degrees, their advanced degrees are in educational leadership or special education, whereas they want like
Math.
science, or math. And practically speaking, in a public school, our staff don't necessarily carry those degrees. The good news is that Middlesex was very explicit in conveying that they are willing to be a little more flexible in some of those things. And they're very much interested in partnering up with some of their South County institutions like that. So I walked out of there feeling very optimistic, particularly with some of the advancements we made with the work-based learning program. And I did want to make sure I mentioned, because I know that was a request from not just the committee, but many of the parents after that meeting, is that we did on the Monroe High School website, there's a tab now at the top of the banner specifically for work-based learning, where parents can have access to resources, documents, including the discussions we had with Middlesex about their course catalog, and that's going to continue to build out. We had meetings today with the students that are already enrolled, but we're going to continue throughout the spring to educate them, especially as these programs continue to develop week to week.
Excellent. Anybody have any last minute questions? Because it is 7:01. Thank you.
Thank you.